Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachahakwarash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders at Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations to the elect. I'm going to go into a few articles and videos dealing with prophecy, dealing with Jacob's trouble. And no matter what you naysayers and you people who watch these videos for entertainment, all right, and, who are all over the place and not rooted in prophecy, no matter what you say, all right, the prophecies say otherwise. And as we know, the book of Ezekiel, the 12th chapter says, as a matter of fact, let's get that. Let's start off right there. All right, Ezekiel, the 12th chapter. All right, Ezekiel, the 12th chapter. And we'll start at the 22nd verse. Son of man, what is that proverb you have heard in the land of Israel, saying the days are prolonged and every vision filleth? Okay, and this was during the time that you had prophets going out prophesying that, the Assyrians, the Neo-Babylonian Empire, were going to come and sack the temple, the Babylonians, and Jake didn't want to take heed. All right. And they continuously mocked the prophets. They continuously told them that what they were saying is a time far off, and, they were wrong. And we continuously get these comments when we speak on Jacob's trouble. And clearly it's here. All right. But what they're saying is that the days are prolonged and every vision filleth. Tell them, therefore, thus saith the Lord, I will make this proverb to cease, and they shall no more use it as a proverb in Israel, but say unto them, the days are at hand, and the effect of every vision. For there shall be no more vain vision, nor flattering divination in the house of Israel. So the Lord is going to make sure that, all of this mocking, all of this scoffing is dealt with. And how is it dealt with? By the prophecies that the prophets have been, speaking of come to pass. For I am the Lord, I will speak, and the word that I shall speak will come to pass, and it shall be no more prolonged. In your days, O rebellious house, will I say the word and perform it, saith the Lord God. See that? So the days are coming. See what this says in the NLT. For I am the Lord, I will say, if I say it, it will happen. It will be no more delays, you rebels of Israel. I will fulfill my threat of destruction in your lifetime. I, Yahweh, the Lord of hosts, have spoken. Okay. And another one here in the book of Amos, Amos 6:3. Okay. Ye that put far off the evil day and cause the seat of violence to come near. Okay. And this is Amos during the when the Assyrians were ruling, right? There was prophecies of the hard times coming on the northern kingdom. Okay. And Jake didn't want to take heed then. They just kept on talking, kept on doing their wickedness. NLT, you push far away. All right. You push away every thought of coming disaster, but your actions only bring the day of judgment closer. Okay. So all of you naysayers continuously talking, continuously coming to our videos, telling us, who ain't the tribes, and, ain't no Jacob's trouble. 1619 was the end of it all. And, hey, just keep living, homie. All right, because horrors are upon us, and may the elect be covered. You see, again, the judgment, just like the flood, that was for the wicked, and many of our people fall under the category of wicked. So judgments are coming, but synonymously, for standing for righteousness' sake, there will be tests, there will be persecution for those of us, all right, who are doing what's right, and Lord willing, we continue and don't turn back. Now, I wanted to get into a few things. I'm pretty sure you brothers and sisters saw these videos and these clips that are coming out. It's crazy because I had an inkling when I heard that they were, carting off Jake in airplanes. Something said in my mind, when they were deporting these Jakes and pretty much, supposedly taking them back to where they came from. Something in my mind said, what if they just drop some of them off, in an ocean somewhere? All right. And sure enough, it's seeming like that is the case. Now, this is from the Elder Malka Allah from the GMS Los Angeles camp. GMS Inspiration of the Almighty. Yo, they're doing what? Jacob's trouble is here. All right. And before we get that video, we already know that TPS is ending for Haitians in the US, not only for the Haitians. Okay, but that's another video I had. Boom. Trump ending Biden era parolee program for migrants from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela. Okay, you notice there are no other nations being, targeted, all right, or spoken about, all right, to be migrants. Okay, you got migrants from China, although we know there were particular agreements made with these, particular nations to bring some of their people over here. But what about the Elamites, the so-called, East Indians? What about the Chinese? There are many migrants, but for some reason, the focus seems to be on a particular people. Okay. And now this TSP, okay, more than, 500,000 migrants from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela, all right, are having their legal status revoked. So the Trump administration is not here to play, as we can see, and they're coming down with great wrath, and the tribes are feeling it. Okay, the tribes are feeling it.
We are following some breaking news out of Washington. The Trump administration is now telling migrants from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela that their legal status is being revoked. More than 500,000 migrants are now being told to self-deport or face being forcibly arrested and removed from the United States. This comes less than a month after a Supreme Court order cleared the way for officials to end the Biden-era parole program known as CHNV that allowed them to come to the United States. CBS News immigration and politics reporter Camila Montoya Galvez. Camilo, given how imminent this warning is, how long do people have to self-deport here?
Well, Nancy, the Department of Homeland Security is telling these migrants from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela that they must immediately register for self-deportation through a smartphone app known as CBP Home that the Trump administration set up to facilitate self-deportations. Otherwise, the Department of Homeland Security is warning them, Nancy, that they will be found, arrested, and forcibly deported from the U.S., and that formal deportation could carry a multi-year ban from re-entering the country legally. So these people are being told that if they do not have another form of legal immigration status, Nancy, they must leave the country voluntarily, immediately, or face ICE arrest and deportation.
Given that this impacts more than 500,000 people, what options, if any, exist for some of them to remain in the U.S. legally?
It's a critical question, Nancy, because it is really important to underscore that some of these 500,000 individuals from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela may have other legal means to stay here in the country lawfully. One of those ways is by applying for asylum. Some of the migrants who came under this Biden administration program may be eligible to request asylum and to receive asylum if they fled political persecution.
So there you go. All right. You see it. Now, here's another one because, a lot of people were, just associating this with the Northern Kingdom. Well, now you can see, okay, the Haitians, which is the tribe of Levi, are catching it too.
Haitians living in the United States with temporary protected status now have just over 2 months to leave the country or face deportation after the Department of Homeland Security announced that it is canceling the temporary benefits for all Haitians. A DHS spokesperson says the environmental situation in Haiti has improved enough and it's safe for Haitian citizens to return. So starting September 2nd, 500,000 people calling the United States home will lose legal status. CBS News Miami's Tanya Francois landed in Cap Haitian on Friday and immediately heard concerns.
The Haitians I have spoken to aren't happy to hear TPS will soon be ending. Their hopes of leaving here are now dashed, and the help from relatives living in South Florida will soon be ending. Also concerning Haitians is the lack of infrastructure, jobs, food, and healthcare. Here on this part of the island, Haiti streets are overly congested, so littered with people moving around just isn't easy. The government is still unstable with no president and no elections in years.
For me, it's very, very difficult life in here. From Haitian, then he has a life from here. It's very, very exactly difficult. So we see when you stay in Haiti, you don't have anything to do. Your life is very, very difficult.
And we know the French had their hand in this island, coming to the condition that it's currently in, but ultimately it's a curse. Okay, so this guy right here, okay, we believe that this is it. Okay, things are going to turn up. All right, and how are they going to, and a lot of the people that they're deporting, some of them are born here in the Americas. So as you see, this guy here, okay, let's say he's over here, right? Well, or someone who looks like him is over here. They don't look no different than your average so-called black who was raised here. So who's to say that they ain't gonna just start waging war and deporting, even Jake, all right, born, here in the States. This is where it's going, man. Okay. And we know who they really want to get their hands on. All right, is those of us who are out there. As a matter of fact, let's get that. Okay, and you keep putting far off the evil day, thinking that these judgments ain't gonna come, and what the prophets have been saying ain't gonna come to pass. Okay, let's get Revelation 12. Although we know this is speaking of those of us who are sincerely coming back to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, okay, it still falls under the same category because we're Israelites. Revelation 12 and 17, and the dragon, which is the revival of Rome, was wroth with the woman, Israel, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of the Most High and have the testimony of Yahweh Shai. Okay, so they're going after Jake right now, but how much more? All right, as these AI surveillance systems set themselves up, they're going to be able to have the ability to come directly after those who fear the Lord, okay, who are, out preaching. Okay. And we told you, Israelites, there's going to be a test. Okay. There's going to be temptation coming down the pipe. All right. And we're going to have to remain faithful. And we're going to see all of you Israelites talk about the laws. We're going to see, all right, if you're going to keep the law, all right, when all of this persecution comes, are you going to fold? Okay. So the dragon is wroth with the woman. Okay. And this guy represents the dragon. Let's get him. Let's get this ugly bastard up. Okay. He represents the dragon.
I can say this. We will do large deportations from Springfield, Ohio. Large deportations. We're going to get these people out. We're bringing them back to Venezuela. He told Biden he's not accepting anybody back. They moved all their criminals. Not all of them, but the rest are moving in now. They emptied their jails in Venezuela, emptied their criminals, emptied the nests. They call them nests of bad people. They're all now in the United States, and they're now taking over cities. It's like an invasion from within. But we're going to have the largest deportation in the history of our country. And we're going to start with Springfield and Aurora.
The Trump administration has moved to terminate deportation protections for Haitians living in the United States. This affects around 500,000 Haitians who have lived in the U.S. under temporary protected status, or TPS, for years. The Department of Homeland Security confirmed that the TPS program for Haitians will officially expire on August 3rd, 2025, with deportations set to begin as early as September 2nd, 2025. TPS was granted after the 2010 earthquake, allowing Haitians to live and work legally in the U.S., but Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem says conditions...
And after that earthquake, Esau was over there collecting organs, trafficking children, all kind of wickedness, man. But some of them were allowed to come over here, right, under certain agreements. But under Trump, they're like, that shit is up.
have improved, despite warnings to the contrary. Therefore, DHS is now urging TPS holders to return to Haiti using a mobile app called CBP Home. The Department of State, nonetheless, has not changed its travel advisory and still recommends Americans do not travel to Haiti due to kidnapping, crime, civil unrest, and limited health care. This announcement follows the administration's broader campaign to end protections for immigrants from crisis-hit nations. TPS holders from countries like Afghanistan, Venezuela, Sudan, and Lebanon have also faced similar revocations. In May, the Supreme Court allowed the administration to proceed with the termination of TPS for Venezuelans and to rescind a separate status known as parole for Cubans, Haitians, Nicaraguans, and Venezuelans. During his campaign and current term, President Trump has made mass deportations and the rollback of humanitarian protections central to his immigration policy. He has argued that TPS and similar programs have been misused and extended beyond their original intent.
Not only is Comrade Kamala allowing illegal aliens to stampede across our border, but then it was announced about a year ago that they're actually flying them in. Nobody knew that. They were secretly flying in hundreds of thousands of people. Some of the worst murderers and terrorists you've ever seen. They were taking anybody that wanted to come in. And they're flying them in. So when they tell you about their borders a little bit better than it used to be,
and when you read the comments, nobody give a damn about Jake. Okay? A lot of people are overstaying their visas. If you sneak into a country illegally, you should expect consequences. Okay, and we know this is judgment against Jake, but man, listening to Esau and the pride of these people, it does, but it comes with the territory. All right, we helped them. Now take your ass home. Thank you, Trump, for getting these horrible people out of our country. We want our country back. Make America, all right, white again. And a lot of you northern tribes think you're Edomites. America does not owe the world anything. These governments need to take care of their own people. And we get it. We get it. We get it. Thank God for President Trump. But you just wait. All right. How this all turns against you everyday Americans who were born in America. And there's a lot of people being deported who were born here. That's happening. That's a thing. Okay. But you see the title of the video if you want to check it out. But check this out.
Before we get started, please go over to Amazon.com.
Hell no. So as you can see here, civil rights attorney answered if Trump can deport Black Americans after birthright citizenship case. Okay, let's check this out.
Use that issue to basically prohibit judges, federal judges, lower court judges from issuing universal or nationwide injunctions. A question has arisen that I want to address in this video. And that question is whether or not Trump can deport Black Americans, African Americans, especially those whose ancestors were enslaved in this country, what many people call foundational Black Americans. And the answer is yes, he certainly can. This case made it much easier. This case gave Trump the tool to do just that. Despite him.
Citizenship clause of the 14th Amendment. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside.
I heard him say it with my own ears recently, the day after the case came down, or maybe even the same day, that the 14th Amendment was added for the babies of slaves. Well, that is true. However, the citizenship clause of the 14th Amendment does not apply just to the descendants of enslaved people. That is not the way it is written. It actually says all persons. Persons. So it's not written that way. It's not interpreted that way. And it's not applied that way. All right. So keep that in mind. It's really important. And I believe Trump is saying that so that he can divide the black and brown community. To say this is not, birthright citizenship is not for you. Basically, it's for blacks. And you're trying to take something in. You're trying to take something from them. I think that is intended to pit us against each other. And I also think that he's saying that to deceive blacks into believing that he is for us, when clearly he is not for us. All right? But let's get back to nationwide injunctions, because when the U.S. Supreme Court got rid of nationwide injunctions, that basically gave Trump free rein to do just about anything he wants to do, including deporting American citizens, not just black Americans. And the basic reason why is because no judge can stop him, not with respect to the entire country. A judge can stop someone who files a lawsuit against Trump. But think about it. If Trump snatch up, say, 100 African Americans and deport them to Sudan or Libya or Nicaragua or El Salvador or wherever.
Imagine that.
Those people are gone. They're out of the country. They're God knows wherever. And so let's say one of their family members file a lawsuit on their behalf. And let's say they successfully get an injunction from the judge. Well, it used to be, before this case, that the judge could say, basically, you got to return all 100 of these African Americans because you unlawfully deported them. But now, with this case, the judge could only say you got to bring that one person back. And the other 99, although it's unlawful, he cannot prohibit that unless they do a class action lawsuit. And class action lawsuits can take months, if not years, to get certified. So those other 99 African American people could be over there lingering, rotten in some jail or whatever, while their cases matriculate through the court system.
I also wanted to play this video. It's off of Instagram.
Listen, and this ain't on no bullshit, y'all. I had to leave out the gym in the middle of my motherfucking workout because God put this in my spirit. Black people, I need y'all to listen to me, and I need you to listen to me clearly. Trump just removed visa status for over 500,000 Haitians. Now, hear me out. I know we've been saying this ain't my fight, We're sitting back. We're not doing anything. We chilling out. We can't sit this out.
And what exactly does Jake plan on doing? See, the thing that we're doing, those of us who are in the know through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shema Shai, we're hiding ourselves, as the scriptures say. What's that scripture? It's the scripture I'm thinking of. Prudent. The prudent man, boom. We've been telling you all this. See, Jake think that they're going to be able to handle this by their own means. They think they're going to go out and fight and stand up for it ain't going to work. However, it's prophecy. So there are going to be a lot of people in the streets fighting, protesting. That's an aspect of prophecy, but that's not our fight. Okay? We're hiding ourselves under the banner of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Okay? He's going to keep us from the hour of temptation. Again, some of us will suffer persecution. Some of us even might have to go back to the spirit world. All right. For denying the beast his image and his mark. But he ain't going to get each and every one of us who believe, man. Okay. There's going to be a remnant alive. Okay. To be here when Yahweh Shah returns, and he's going to raise certain others from the dead. Death has no reign over us. See, but there's a lot of people who have ignored the counsel of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Okay? Proverbs 22:3, a prudent man foreseeth evil and hideth himself, but the simple pass on and are punished. Okay, so again, you have many Jake, when they seen the Northern Kingdom getting deported, this is not our fight, whatever, they hate us, typical stuff. Now, darker faces are going to start getting deported. Now we're seeing, listening to this guy, even the talking point of can so-called blacks, so-called black Americans get deported after the birthright citizenship case. Okay, which technically, according as it is on law, if you're born to parents who, are U.S. citizens, no, you shouldn't be able to, but that's happening. All right. And who knows, moving down the pipe, what unrighteous decree or law they can pass. And again, just wait until they get, closer and closer to what they want to do. All right. They can say if you have an ideology or internet surfing, or if you're a street preacher, if you have any, opposing, if you oppose America in any way, you can be deported. So listen to a little bit more of this.
It's almost like saying you can't kill that man after you done shot him. Listen, this court case essentially said to judges, you cannot issue nationwide injunctions except for certified class action lawsuits, even if what he is doing is unlawful. So if you phrase the question this way, can Trump lawfully deport African Americans? The answer is clearly no. But that's not the question. The question is, can he deport African Americans even if it's unlawful? The answer to that question is yes, because there's nobody to stop him anymore. All right, I want that to be clear. This is not just about immigrants. This is not just about Latinos. This case went far beyond immigration. I hope I'm making this clear. This is not just about immigrants. This is not just about Latino immigrants. This case went far beyond immigration. It basically, at this point, jeopardizes all of our rights. All of them. Now, I'm going to take you to the case and I'm going to show you that. So Amy Coney Barrett, Justice Barrett, wrote the case for the majority. And she said that judges could no longer issue nationwide injunctions, even if what Trump is doing is unlawful. You may say, wow, yes, really? Let me show you. Because it jeopardizes all of our rights. So the very first thing, I went over this in the video that I did a day or so ago about this very same thing, but this one, I'm talking specifically to African Americans, whether we can be deported, or any other American for that matter. So at the very top, Justice Barrett says the applications do not raise and thus we do not address. Now, what applications are she talking about? Well, when the three judges issued those nationwide injunctions, the Trump administration filed applications for a stay. The word stay means stop. So they filed applications with SCOTUS. They were asking SCOTUS to stop the injunctions from stopping them from doing what they wanted to do, which was redefine birthright citizenship. All right. And the appellate court agreed with the lower court. But when it got to SCOTUS, SCOTUS agreed with the Trump administration and granted their applications, basically stopping the nationwide injunctions and also saying to the judges, don't issue anymore unless they are pursuant to class action lawsuits or to the one person or several people who are directly in a lawsuit, but don't apply that to everybody else. So since it applies only to the people named in the lawsuit, the rest of what Trump does by his executive order to the other people, he can get away with it, whether it's lawful or not, whether it's constitutional or not constitutional.
And we know what the scriptures say. Let's get Isaiah, the 10th chapter. You expect these people to be fair going down the pipe before they get taken out of power? No, they're going to be absolutely ridiculous. Isaiah 10:1. Woe to them that decree unrighteous decrees and that write grievousness which they have been prescribed, to turn aside the needy from judgment and to take away the right from the poor of my people, that widows may be their prey, and that they may rob the fatherless. And historically, they have always passed unrighteous decrees centered around Jake. You think they're getting ready to stop? And again, if you think that this whole, deportation thing just stops at migrants or immigrants, then you got to be crazy.
All right. So here we go. She says the application do not raise and thus we do not address the question whether the executive order violates the Citizenship Clause and Nationality Act. The issue before us is one of remedy. The remedy is getting the application granted. Doesn't have anything to do with constitutionality of the executive order that Trump issued. And that is whether under the Judiciary Act of 1789, which creates federal courts, have equitable authority to issue universal injunctions. And I already told you they answered the question in the negative. No, they do not have that power going forward. Now, Justice Sotomayor, she wrote the dissent, and she called it gamesmanship that the Trump administration did not include whether the executive order was constitutional. She said that was gamesmanship. In other words, they played game because what they really wanted was just to get the court to say that the lower judges can no longer issue universal injunctions. That's what they were trying to get because that's what's holding up Trump's agenda, his Project 2025 agenda, his anti-black agenda, his anti-civil rights agenda. That's what was holding it up. And she says, yet shamefully, this court plays along. The majority of this court decides that these applications of all cases provide the appropriate occasion to resolve the question of universal injunction. And she goes on. Now, if we jump down to the next paragraph, she goes on to say, and this is what I want you to hear very carefully, no right is safe in the new legal regime the court creates. No right is safe. So we can say as African Americans, we have the right not to be deported because we are citizens. We have birthright citizenship. All right. And it is true. Let me say this. I want to make sure you understand that birthright citizenship was added to the Constitution because of our enslaved ancestors. That's true. Where Trump is wrong is it doesn't just apply to us. Just like equal protection doesn't just apply to us, or due process doesn't just apply to us. So she says no right is safe in the new legal regime the court creates. So if we say, hey, you can't deport us, in other words, we could say to the ICE agent, you can't deport us, I'm an American citizen. And because of this case, they could tell you, shut up, put your hands behind your back, you're arrested, and we're getting ready to deport you. We're putting you on the plane right now.
And you can watch the rest of that, the Defiant Lawyers Network. Okay. And what are they doing with these people who they're deporting? That's really what I wanted to get into. But the spirit's the spirit. I'm a bit tired. So I'm gonna play some of this, and then we'll get up out of here.
So what you have here is you have one story that migrants in the United States have been routinely shackled, waist, wrists, ankle.
And this is the thing. A lot of people forgot who Esau really is, who he was, what he's all about. The sick, demonic, bestial, savage, nature of Esau. Okay. And a lot of you, you have no idea who or what Esau is and what he's about. This dude is crazy. Okay. He's heartless. Okay. Migrants put in shackles for Trump deportation flights. But it gets even worse than that, which is something it came to my mind some weeks ago or a month ago when this all started, a few month and a half, that what if they was just dropping these migrants off, in large bodies of water or, so check this out.
And loaded onto cargo planes. Not just. So what you have here is you have one story that migrants in the United States have been routinely shackled, waist, wrists, ankles, and loaded onto cargo planes. Not just cargo planes, but cargo planes with the rear doors that can open mid-flight. Completely separate story. 5 corpses with their hands and feet bound have been found floating in the sea off the coast of Majorca. And since January, 31 bodies have been recovered there.
And we know it's way more than that, right?
These aren't commercial flights. They're military-style planes with no windows, metal floors, and a rear ramp that can open mid-air. The U.S. uses private contractors like Global X to run these flights.
I've got questions. I'd like to know why we are seeing these examples of ICE detainees being loaded specifically on cargo planes that have the kind of ramps that can be opened during flight.
Clutch those pearls, folks, because not only is it fuckery about, this stuff is truly fucked up. We're going to talk about two things. The second one I'm going to talk about is RFK's wearable tech. The first one I want to talk about is the fact that people are being disappeared out of the American system. Now, I'm still digging into this. However, there are multiple reports across multiple platforms that there have been American citizens swept up in the ICE raids. Now, we know this. Now, here's where the problem lies. These people are going and they're being like, hey, I'm an American citizen. And ICE is turning around and being like, no, you're not. You're not in the system. Driver's licenses gone, social security numbers gone, work records gone. And when their families are showing up with these documents, they're being accused of forging the documents.
Could you imagine that? You leaving out of the health food store. You got the tinctures. I'm gonna hook me up a nice little healthy meal, and they just roll up on your ass and say you're not a U.S. citizen and the deport you. This is why have your information on you when you leave the house. I mean, not to say that that's gonna be the end all be all. Ultimately, the Lord got to be with you, but hey, be wise. These are some very, very interesting times, man, and it's gonna get ugly, and it ain't gonna be fair. And this is another the dirty war of Argentina. Argentina, 1974 through 83. Somebody was talking about this today. Let's see what this is all about.
Did you know that during the Dirty War from 1976 to 1983, between 10 to 30,000 people were kidnapped, tortured, and disappeared? Mostly political dissidents, activists, students. And one of the horrific methods they used was that victims were sedated, loaded onto military planes or helicopters, flown out over the Atlantic Ocean, and then thrown out.
You can look it up too.
There is no ends to which people will go to in order to maintain the coherence of their current belief system, irrespective of the amount of contrary evidence that they are exposed to, because then that triggers cognitive dissonance. And as a matter of fact, paradoxically, what often happens, as I'm sure you know, Jordan, when I expose you to contrary information, it only solidifies your position.
What's your reaction to being detained? What's your reaction to being detained?
In Southern California, dramatic videos show federal agents detaining day laborers in Home Depot parking lots and chasing farm workers across fields. The street vendor clung to a tree as agents tried to bring her into custody. According to the Department of Homeland Security, more than 1,600 people have been taken into custody in LA alone in the last 3 weeks. And all that blitz promised by border czar Tom Homan at the start of the raids. Are there more days coming ahead?
Absolutely. We're going to be out there every day.
President Trump reiterating today he wants to deport 1 million undocumented immigrants a year.
Thank you for fighting for all Americans. Americans are finally getting what they voted for. No longer will we have rogue judges striking down President Trump's policies across the entire nation. No longer. Today, in the 6-3 opinion, Justice Barrett correctly holds that the district court lacks authority to enter nationwide or universal injunctions. These lawless injunctions gave relief to everyone in the world instead of the parties before the court.
This is Jermaine Thomas. Jermaine was just deported to Jamaica, a country he's never been to. Jermaine is the son of a U.S. Army soldier who served nearly 20 years in the U.S. Army. Jermaine was born in 1986 when his father was serving in Germany. Jermaine was born on a U.S. Army base in Germany. Son of a U.S. citizen, Army soldier, who served nearly 20 years in the Army. But the United States of America has decided that Jermaine Thomas is not a U.S. citizen. He's not a citizen of Jamaica. He's not a citizen of Germany. He is a man without a country.
Breaking just moments ago, NBC News reporting that ICE is preparing to deploy tactical units known as Special Response Teams to 5 Democratic-run cities. Those cities, Seattle, Chicago, Philadelphia, Northern Virginia, and New York. It's not clear if these raids will begin immediately, but all special response teams in those areas have been told to be ready to deploy.
Otherwise, we're here, we're not going away. Border Patrol, Office of Field Operations, and Air and Marine, you'll see us in Los Angeles. You'll continue to see us in Los Angeles, not going anywhere soon. As for the violence and the demonstrators, violence will not deter us. The CBP mission here in Los Angeles.
ICE agent just got a new power, and leaked emails obtained by 404 Media show exactly what they're doing. It's called Mobile Fortify. Put a phone at anyone's face, and it instantly tells you who they are. This tech uses the same database that takes your photo when you enter and leave the U.S. Millions of Americans who have traveled internationally
See that?
are in the system. The leaked emails show ICE can now scan bases in the field, no warrant, no probable cause, just point and identify. The app has something called...
We have some serious news right now. The New York Times report is shedding light on the systematic abuses within America's immigration detention system. Undocumented migrants sometimes have gone weeks without shower. They are not being provided necessary medical care for high blood pressure and more. Others have been forced to sleep on the ground. As of June 15th, there are 56,000 individuals in ICE custody in these detention facilities. That's more than the maximum amount that the detention facility should be holding.
I'm gonna sit right here and tell y'all where y'all fucking up at. I'm gonna tell you where you fucking up. If you sit here and think that them swooping up Mexicans and Latinos and people who speak Spanish, basically, and somehow you ain't gonna end up on that list, that's where you fucking up at. The other way you fucking up is not recognizing that they can try to eliminate one group before they move to the next group. You don't see that? See, when you stand by and watch evil being done, you stand by and watch it. Be like, ain't got nothing to do with me. That's their fault. You become the fucking evil. You don't get that. Is that right? Now, when it comes for your ass, you know you can't say that, right?
Oh man. Oh man. And the Elder Malcolm did a video. Check this out. GMS Maccabean Spirit 144. He goes into it as well here. Look at these. You know, why are they putting them on these flights? If they're supposed to be deporting them, why would they put them on these militaries? You know, boy, oh boy. So things are getting interesting. I believe he, let's check this out.
I know that deportation flights happen. My concern is that the particular plane they were putting them into is called the SC-7 Skyfan. It's loved for its ability to open doors in the flight to let parachuters out. And I've also seen...
Yeah, that's a military style plane for the purpose of letting parachuters out. So you could just imagine what's happening, what's going on here. They also have Edomites dressing up as ICE agents, pretending to be officers. See? So things are getting ready to get crazy out here, man. It's already crazy.
And the worst part, actually, this is real happening. Let's dive in. Credit goes to the owner of the videos. We'll be seeing in this video. I'll come back with more comment type.
A fake federal agent. This is what the city of Huntington Park is dealing with.
An individual was arrested after officers discovered red and blue lights hidden under the vehicle's visors. Multiple police-style radios, a firearms magazine, IHS and CBP labeled documents, and copies of passports.
A man is being accused of carrying ICE law enforcement-like documents and gear. 24-year-old Fernando Diaz was taken into custody after police responded to a vehicle wrongfully parked in a handicap spot. At first, the cops thought it was an unmarked law enforcement vehicle, but after they checked, it wasn't. They were going to impound that vehicle when Diaz showed up, and he said it was his, and he wanted to take some stuff out of the car. Police questioned him about the items, and he said this.
Claimed that he used to work for Customs and Border Protection that had no valid credentials.
Don't. Over the past couple weeks, all around the United States, multiple women have come forward claiming that men have tried to abduct them while pretending to be members of ICE. So far, it's been very easy for these men to try and pretend to be ICE members. Members of ICE don't have a standardized uniform. Usually all you see them wearing is tactical vests, masks, and glasses. Completely unidentifiable. When ICE conducts these raids, they just go and they take people. They don't provide identifications. Oftentimes they don't have warrants, and they will just come and try and take people.
So, I mean, you could watch the rest of that video. I mean, what can you say here? Let's get good old Jeremiah 30 for the naysayers who seem to think no trouble is coming for the Israelites here in America because it already happened in 1619. Jeremiah 30 and 17. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. For it shall come to pass in that day, saith the Lord of hosts, that I will break his yoke from off thy neck, and I will burst thy bonds, and strangers will no more serve themselves of him. So the Lord is through this trouble that's coming. All right, the Lord is going to lift up a standard. As a matter of fact, when you get Isaiah the 59th chapter, okay, and AI will be a big, they're just getting started. Okay. Isaiah 59 and 19. So shall they fear the name of the Lord from the west, and his glory from the rising of the sun. When the enemy shall come in like a flood, the Spirit of the Lord shall lift up a standard against him. So the enemy will come like a flood. We read it in Revelation 12 that the dragon was wroth with the woman and is going to come to make war with the remnant of her seed. Do you proclaim to be of that remnant? So they're coming. See, but that's where the Lord is going to lift up a standard, and divine intervention is coming for us. And he will break this yoke from off of our neck, living under this wicked system, being subject to an ID, a social security number, all these various different things that the Lord is getting ready to do away with all of this madness, man. Okay. But they shall serve the Lord their God and David their king, whom I will raise unto them. So this shows you this is coming. All right. This is a future prophecy that we're coming up on. The Jacob's trouble is what we're going to be saved out of, the elect. Therefore, fear not, O my servant Jacob, said the Lord, neither be dismayed. A lot of you are dismayed when we tell you the things that are coming, because a lot of you know you ain't right and full of shit. O Israel, for I will save thee from afar, and thy seed from the land of their captivity. And Jacob shall return, and shall be in rest, and shall be quiet, and none shall make him afraid. All right. So let's keep watching. There's so much more we could have brought out here, but I'm going to just end it there. Got to get some rest. Shalom.